Hi, we want to welcome you all to the first ever Camp Foley online parent meeting. My name is Alli. I'm one of the directors here at Foley, and in a few minutes I'll explain who I am a little bit more. But I wanted to start just to kind of explain to you how this is going to kind of work tonight. Many of you have already submitted questions, and thank you for that. We'll be getting to some of those questions in a little bit here, as well as some just frequently asked questions that parents have kind of asked us throughout the years. But throughout the broadcast, if you do have a question that you would like us to answer or something that maybe you want us to go further into depth with, there's a couple ways that you can get that information to us. The first one is to email us at fun@campfoley.com. So just shoot us an email with the question, and we will try to answer those. The other way is on Twitter. You can tweet us at @campfoley, one word, @campfoley, and we will be watching that as well. And then the third way is if you are watching on the Google Hangout, there's a little bar over on the right side of your screen that you can hit that Q&A button and ask your questions that way, so we'll be watching that as well. Like I said, my name is Alli Pharisee, and I'm one of the directors here, and myself, along with my mother, Marie, who is the other director, have been working here at Foley for quite a few years now. The camp has been in our family since the 1940s, and Marie took over as the full-time director in 1985, and then I joined her in 2004 as a year-round director as well. It's definitely a family affair for us. My siblings all are working at camp this summer, and I have a quick picture for you that I'll show you of just some of my siblings, all of my siblings. I have 3 siblings that are a little bit younger than I am. Peter is on the left side there. He is actually in his freshman year of law school right now at Michigan State, and he will be working as an assistant director and helping out down at the waterfront and that sort of thing. So the kids will see him at camp. And then Kylie is my sister, and she will also be working at camp this summer as a third-year counselor. She'll be living in a cabin with some of the older girls, and then also helping out as a nurse's assistant since she is in her 3rd year of nursing school right now as well. And then my youngest sibling, Kevin, will be a first-time counselor this year, and will be kind of helping out down at the lake also, and kind of experiencing camp as a counselor for the first time. So like I said, definitely a family affair, and we definitely want to welcome you to the Foley family and hope that this little video here is going to be informational for you and give you all the resources that you kind of need to go forward and find out all about camp. Like I said, we want this to be a resource for you. So throughout the evening, I'm going to be talking a lot about different links, authors, books, places on our website that you can find information. And I know that it's going to be tough for you to remember all of that stuff while we're talking tonight, but definitely, take some notes and that sort of thing. But at the end of the night, if you want us to send you a handout with all of the links and the authors and everything else that you might want to look at later on in your own time, shoot us an email, and we will definitely send out that handout. It's kind of a perk for watching the video, is you'll get this sort of secret handout with all of the great ideas about how to be a fantastic camp parent. So with that said, I think we're going to start this evening. Again, email us or tweet us with questions and that sort of thing. We want this to be interactive as much as possible. With just actually looking at the Camp Foley website a little bit, and I'm sure that by now you've perused through all of the different pages of the camp website, but this is going to kind of point out a couple spots that as a camp parent we hope you go back to as you get closer to the camp time. And this is again something that I urge you to look over with your kids as well before you get to camp, because there's be some information in there that your kids are going to want as well. If you haven't been to our website in a while, we actually recently redid it, so it looks a little bit differently. But if you go up here to this top black bar menu here, you'll see 3 areas that are probably going to be the most, the most useful to you as a camp parent. The first one is the Prospective Families tab, which is something you've probably looked through a little bit, but if you just go ahead and click on that, down on the left, if you click on the Facts and Details tab, there are a couple pages in here that we for sure want you to go over with your kids. The first one is the first day of camp. So of course, camp starts, and the first thing that happens is you have to arrive at camp, and then there are all the little things that go into that big arrival celebration, as we call it, at camp. So whether they're riding the bus up or getting dropped off, every kid will kind of go through some of the same things once they arrive here at camp. So you can kind of talk this through with your kid and explain to them sort of how each of these pieces will work. One of the big high anxiety areas for campers is that swim check that we have every kid do. And this is really an opportunity for us to just make sure that they are comfortable in the water. It's a confidence sort of thing. Make sure that their life jackets fit okay, and they can kind of swim from point A to point B. And all of the details of that are listed out on this page as well. So that's one of the hot anxiety areas, I think, for campers. Another one is the food, of course, and the first meal that they eat at camp is the evening supper time meal. And again, if you give us your email address and we can send you that handout, there'll be some special inside trader information about what the first meal at camp will be too. So watch for that in the handout. And then after supper, we go into cabin time and all of that. And the whole time that first day is going on, the counselors are doing icebreakers with the kids. They're working on their group development. They're kind of slowing down, especially for those new campers. We're doing tours. We're explaining, where to find things. They're visiting the nurse. All of those really important things that happen on the first day. All right. In addition to the first day of camp, we also have the daily schedule here, which again, for those anxious campers, this is very important for them to kind of look over. It explains, when all the meals are, which is very important at camp, and also when the activities are going to take place, how long the activity periods are, and that sort of thing. So again, you can look through all of this on your own time, and definitely urge you to go through it with your camper. The day is pretty much the same for all of the kids of all ages until you get to the after dinner time frame. And that's when things will definitely start to be a little bit different, because the older kids will be going to cabin time and that sort of thing. And then the younger kids kind of the older kids have an extra activity period, and the younger kids go into cabin time, and then the older kids will go into cabin time after that. So a little bit different in the evenings, but again, you can go through that with your camper. And then the last spot here on this tab I wanted to show you was this activities tab. If you click on this, you will see all of the activities that are kind of happening at camp, and they can go through, and if you click on these teal boxes, it'll explain each and every activity that we have, and there's even some videos that the kids can watch and that sort of thing. So for sure, check that out, and it's a great opportunity to have that chat with your kids about setting goals and trying new things. And I think a lot of parents have it in their heads that they for sure want their kid to go to camp and learn how to water ski or learn how to sail, and this is a great way to kind of go through and get them excited about some of the activities that you want them to be excited about, and set those goals. They won't actually sign up for their activities until they're at camp on the first day. After we do our swim checks and some of the basic things at camp, they'll be given that opportunity to sign up for their activities and choose those for themselves. So again, a great way to sort of get them acclimated to what there is out there for the kids to do. The last spot I want to show you is under this Foley Families tab. So if you click on that, and then again over on the left side here, this pre-camp checklist. This is really valuable, especially to our new families, but we encourage even our very veteran families to check this out too. This is an area that you can see all sorts of information of what needs to be done when. So there's information about when final payments are due, forms that need to be filled out, what to kind of pack for the kids, all of those kinds of things. And there is a packing list link here on the left too, which the kids should for sure check out as you're getting them ready for camps. Make sure that you have everything that you need. One big question that we encourage people to ask when they're looking for new camps is, what are some of the great traditions that you have at your camp? And I want to point this out right now on the packing list is, if you go down to where it says the banquet costumes, this is kind of a fun thing that we do at the end of each session, and definitely make sure that your camper is aware of this. And if they're coming for the first or third session, the theme this year is like Wild West, so like cowboy sort of gear. And then second and fourth session, we are doing a pirate day. And what that means is the last day of camp, they'll be doing all sorts of fun activities that have to do with those themes. And then that evening, we have a big meal together that's kind of a special final dinner for everybody, and a good celebration of a great session that we've had. And the kids kind of dress up, and the counselors dress up in those costumes. So that's one of the been doing for a long, long time. And so that, like I said, that's a great question to ask if you're still perusing around and checking out different camps. So that is the packing list, and I'm gonna pause here real quick. We had a question from somebody that came up. The question was, if his daughter arrives late for camp, how do they get caught up on all of that first day stuff? And that's an excellent question, and of course with the busyness of kids and parents and families, that happens fairly often, that we have kids that arrive late to camp, and it's really no problem at all. What generally happens is one of our waterfront counselors will kind of take your kid around and explain to her, I think you said it was a daughter, explain to her kind of the rules and things down at the waterfront. They'll still do that swim check. It'll just be on like a more one-on-one sort of basis. The camper will still visit the nurse, and this goes for all of our parents that are dropping their kids off. We definitely encourage, when you drop your kid off at camp, that you go with your camper for health screening and kind of check in with the nurse, and that way we can make sure that if we have any questions right away. So you would go with your camper to get health screened, and then down to the lake, and we would just get them caught up on all of that sort of stuff. Our kids are great about kids that come in late, or even if they have to leave early, or leave for a family emergency or something. They generally have that cabin decorated, and there's warm welcomes and things like that. But we would slow down and make sure that your daughter got all of the same sort of stuff that the rest of the kids did. It would just be on more of a sped up process, since it's only one camper. So hopefully I answered your question there. If not, definitely respond back, and I will further go into one for you. All right, so I think we looked at a few of the pieces of our website, which I think are really important, again, to kind of go back and check that out. We're going to switch bases a little here and talk a little bit about preparing your camper for camp. I think a lot of preparation goes into physically getting your kid ready, all the packing and the buying of sunscreen and making sure they have the proper sheets and all of that kind of stuff. But we're going to focus a little bit getting your kid ready for camp, and just some things that you can do at home to practice coming to summer camp, which kind of sounds silly that you have to practice coming to summer camp, but just like a varsity sport, it definitely is an experience. We want to make sure that it's great for them, so a little bit of practice goes a long ways. And then also some things that you can say and kind of tune in on your campers as they're getting ready to go, to see if they really are ready, and kind of make sure that you're setting them up for success. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint here with a few slides, I think, that will kind of help that. All right, so starting by setting your kids up for success. So a few things that parents, and again, this is in general, every parent is going to speak to their kid in a little bit different way, but this is some examples of ways that things that parents have said. And I take this directly off of a guy named Dr. Chris Thurber. He's a longtime camp parent. He's worked at camps. He's done research for camps, all sorts of stuff. And he also runs, now he's kind of shifted into more of the child psychology area. He has written some books and that sort of thing. And he has a great website, campspirit.com. It's listed on the bottom of the page there. And a lot of these comments I took directly from him in a blog that he writes, so I won't take credit for these. But if a parent says, have a great time at camp, Sam, I don't know what I'll do without you, what that kid is really thinking is, oh man, I don't know if I should go to camp because my parents aren't going to be able to survive without me. And that's not a great way to have them leave for camp. Instead, having them leave with, have a great time at camp, Sam. I'm so excited for your adventures, so that when you get back, you can tell me all about those adventures, and we can discuss them and look at pictures and the whole deal. So kind of setting them to go with that. Another one is, you'll love Camp Taylor, of course. I'll be bored to tears while you're gone, but I hope you have a good time. This is kind of making the kid feel like, oh, I don't know if it's fair for me to go to camp because my mom is just going to be at home, bored out of her mind or whatever. In a few minutes, we'll talk a little bit about things to email or to mail to your kids, ideas about stuff to talk about. And this kind of directly relates to that, but, we want you to kind of make your home life while they're away seem a little bit mundane. It's all the adult stuff, maybe seeing, your adult friends, family, things like that. But at the same time, we want to make sure that they're not feeling, like them being gone is going to be kind of an inconvenience on you. So make sure that they're kind of clear on that. So instead, while you're gone, I'll be busy with work and seeing my friends and that sort of thing. So a few ideas on things to say. A big one that I think a lot of kids will say, and again, it's that anxiety and wanting to feel like they're going to be okay and taken care of while they're at camp is, if I get homesick, will you come pick me up? And of course, as a parent, your first inclination is to say, yes, absolutely, I'll come get you. But there's, several reasons why that may not be possible. One, I think a lot of you that I'm talking to right now are probably from, far away, so even the logistics of getting up to camp to pick up a kid is tough. And then secondly, you have somehow bought into coming to camp and wanting your kids to be here and that sort of thing. So the idea of, them just not giving it a good try is not really what you're looking for either. So instead of saying, yes, I'll absolutely come get you, something in the lines of, missing home is totally okay. It means that you like hanging out with us, as the parents. But that doesn't mean that camp is bad. Just tell your counselor or one of the directors, and they will help you out. And this kind of shows them that it's totally normal to miss home, because it is, but that they'll have that support while they're at camp as well. All right, and then the last one here is, are you going to write to me while I'm at camp? And of course, I'm assuming you have, as parents, will write to your kids, but make sure that you are cautious about saying, yes, of course, I'll write to you every single day, because that's, in a lot of ways, just not realistic. Mail can be slow, it can get jammed up. We don't even have mail on Sundays because of, the Postal Service, and emails get lost and that sort of thing. And if then the kid's sitting at camp and they don't receive a letter from you, what they're thinking in their mind as their mind starts to race is that something happened to you, that you don't like them anymore, you've forgotten about them, there was a big accident, who knows, their mind can kind of go a million different ways. So, and then on the other side of that is they may feel that they also have order for a kid who's also supposed to be trying to have a good time with meeting new people and trying new things and doing all the goals and things that you have set for them while they're at camp. So just be a little bit cautious about that. We definitely want you to write to them, but kind of explaining to them that of course you'll write. You might not get one every day, but just focus on having a good time, and that if they want to write you, great. And if they hope that they do write at camp. So just a few ideas there on things to kind of set them up for success. And going into mail, and I don't want to spend too much time on mail, but it is a pretty important piece, especially since that is your main communication with the kids while they're at camp, with the absence of cell phones and texting and that sort of thing. So just a little rundown on how we do mail here at Foley. Mail call is done once a day, right before dinner, kind of in that free period right before dinner time. A good suggestion, and again, this is just a pure suggestion, is about 3 to 4 pieces of mail per week, and that includes letters and emails. And I forgot the E on that there, but that should say letters and email. And one little hint is that kids don't always consider email to be mail. I was talking to a girl a couple summers ago, and she was saying to me, "Oh, my parents have not written me yet. I don't know what the deal is." And I, prompted her a little bit more and said, "Well, I'm pretty sure I gave you an email a couple days ago." And she said, "Oh yeah, email doesn't count. I want a real letter." So just kind of keep that, at least a few of those hard copy, snail mail, traditional letters to send to the kids each week as well. And then here at Foley, we have a no package policy. Again, if you're watching this and still researching camps, that's probably a little bit different for each camp. But as far as Foley goes, we have kind of a no package policy, unless it's a forgotten item. So if kids forgot all of their socks or their life jacket or whatever, just again email us and write on the outside of the package forgotten item, and we will to the office. We don't even usually wait until mail call. We get those to the kids kind of as soon as they come in. So just a little bit of a piece there. And then on the flip side of it, what we're kind of making sure that the kids send back to you is on the second day they'll write a postcard that will be mailed out by us, so we know that it'll be stamped and has a correct address on it and all that fun stuff. And then after 1 week, they also have to bring a letter to their one of their meals that they'll have to send out that's addressed to their parents. So you'll get at least those 2 pieces of mail from your kids while they're here. And generally, the old saying goes that no news is good news. And if you are questioning that, definitely give us a call or email us, and we can encourage the kids to send a couple emails. Or excuse me, a couple letters. Things to talk about. I think obviously the normal stuff that goes on, but these are kind of some things that I know kids appreciate getting. Updates on their favorite sports teams, happy or funny news stories that are going on. They don't get a lot of news while they're here, for better or for worse, but some of those fun news stories are kind of good to talk about. Basic, everyday, boring parent stuff, so just kind of the normal rundown on what you have going that kind of ensures them that you're having an okay time without them and things are trucking along like normal. Jokes are great, of course, as long as they're clean. And then little tidbits or silly facts that you might be able to share with them. Anything that you can do to help them engage with their cabin mates. I think a lot of times we think of mail as a one-way street between the person sending and the person receiving, but at camp, with the way that we're trying to get the kids to build, also be a great tool of things for them to talk about with their cabin mates and their friends and things like that. So great things to talk about. Things to try to avoid. Too many happy pet stories. Great stories about pets is awesome every once in a while. But again, I had a camper a couple years ago that every day her mom would send stories about their family dog and little funny things. And I think by the end of camp, she was more homesick for that dog than she was for her parents or anybody else. So just be a little bit careful about how much of that you share. Of course, letting them know that things are good is also great. List of stuff that they missed out on, major family issues or illnesses in the family, things like that. That's tough for them to receive just in an email or a letter. So definitely, if you have those kinds of concerns, call the camp office or email the directors, and Maria or I, and we can have those conversations with the kids. And then sometimes favorite restaurants are tough. Because especially if they're a pickier eater and things like that, it can be kind of hard, and it makes them a little bit more homesick. So, cool. I think that is some great stuff about that. We did have one question come in about international mail and how we send that, and that is a excellent question. I'm going to switch back so you guys can see me here. Definitely, we obviously get a lot of international campers, and if that's something you are unaware of fully, it's one of the great things. We get lots of kids from Mexico, all different European countries, and that sort of thing. The way that international mail works is that if you are, the kids can write out we have like blank paper for them, and they can just write out a letter to their mother or father or whoever it is that they have at home, and we will email those to those email addresses that we have on file. So they can, they come into the camp office. Mary, who is our office administrator, who many of you have probably spoken to on the phone, she scans those and then emails those out to those families. Same thing for coming in. I think the primary way that our international parents communicate with the kids is definitely via email. You do have the option to fax as well if that's easier for you, but I would say that most of our international families are using email at this point. So I think that is great. All right, I think we're going to carry on here. There's one more question. Excuse me 1 second while I read it for everybody. Oh, excellent. It was a follow-up to wanting to know a little bit more about how if his daughter arrives late, and having a friend or a cabin mate walk around during that introduction time. And that's definitely something that we can most likely work out, as long as that the friends and things like that are around and not like out on a sailboat or something like that. When your daughter arrives, we can generally make that happen. And usually, depending on what time you arrive, if they're in rest period or one of their free times, that's definitely no problem at all. So we can for sure work that out with your daughter and with you when you arrive at camp. So no problem there. All right, so we've talked a little bit about mail, and I think I've answered all the ones here so far. All right, I think what we'll do now is talk a little bit about communication. We started the mail conversation, but just communication between you and us. And there are several pieces and places that parents have, and avenues they have to communicate with Marie and I and the other assistant directors and Mary, who is our office administrator, while your kid's at camp. Every day, our cabin counselors, the normal counselors that'll be living in the cabins with the kids, they fill out what we call our daily camper notes. And so they're just brief little things about each kid, and they try to include, awards that they've maybe gotten, activities that they've been enjoying, friendships that they've made, and then on the other side, struggles maybe that they're having. They fell off their bike, or they, are feeling a little bit homesick or something like that. So when you do call into the office, even though obviously the cabin counselors are not always in the office, or never really in the office, they're out hanging out with your kids, but Mary would have that information that she could kind of look up for you, kind of how your camper is doing. So that's one way to communicate with us while your kids are gone. And we definitely appreciate phone calls, and we want you to call and get all those answers and get your anxieties kind of taken care of, so that you as a camp parent is having a good time at home too while your kids are here. So that's one way. And then also email. You can definitely email us. Same thing with those questions and forgotten items. And oftentimes you'll get a letter home from a kid that'll say, Mom, I've totally forgot to bring all of my socks and T-shirts. They're just not in my bag. And definitely, if that's the case, we want you to, email us or call us so that we can maybe go look in their suitcase. Maybe they didn't get unpacked, or they got forgotten somewhere else. So, let us know if you get letters or weird things from the kids that you feel like we should know as well. And then at the end of each session, the counselors will write a letter home to you that will get mailed out. Generally, between a day or two after the kids leave. And those letters are kind of a summation, I guess, of the time that they had at camp, and just sort of a little small peek into maybe what their experience was like. So we definitely encourage you. Some parents share those with the kids. Other parents I know of, I've had counselors that have come back to work at Foley after being campers for a long time and didn't really even know that those existed. The parents just kind of like tucked them away in their scrapbooks or whatever, and never showed the kids. So that's kind of a one way that you can do that. So that's the letters that you'll get at the end of each session as well. And that kind of brings up our counselors a little bit, and we get a lot of questions asked to us about what our counselors are like, where do they come from, like who are these people that are taking care of our kids for 2 or 4 weeks. And I just did the math this morning about our current 2014 upcoming staff, and they, when I did that, 75% of them, 76% actually, are either former campers with us that are now coming back to work as counselors, or they worked for us last summer. So we definitely get, generally we're within that 2/3 to 3/4 of our staff is kind of in that area, and then 1/4 are, many of them are, child adolescent psychology majors or teaching majors, and this is kind of what they're doing for their summer. And speaking to that point of, checking out other camps, that's a great question to ask other camps that you might be looking at as well, because some camps, your staff, the counselors that are taking care of the kids are between the ages of 16, 17, or 18. At Foley, our staff all have to be 18 or older. Most of them have completed, and actually I think this summer all of them have completed at least 1 year of college. Many of them are even up into their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or graduate programs as well. So great question to ask when you're looking at who's taking care of your kids. all of our staff do background checks. They have to have references. They go through an interview and an application process. We do an 11-day staff training with them, so they're actually here at camp for 11 days, learning about how camp works and just basic kid stuff, how to take care of kids, and healthcare issues, all sorts of things like that. So great staff, and they generally do a really good job of taking care of our kids. Another great question to ask people, and this is maybe one that camp directors will squirm a little bit if you ask them, is what is your ideal counselor and what is the counselor that's not ideal? Again, we're going into our 90th summer of operation. We were founded back in 1924. So, of course, in 90 years, there's been at least a couple counselors that, didn't do a good job with our kids. And so, I asked Marie this question because I wanted to make sure that we were kind of on the same page of what our ideal and what our not so great counselor looked like. And some of the words that we use for our ideal counselors are, compassionate, selfless. They are here 100% for the kids there, and that's actually something we talked to them about in the interview. They're giving up all of their time and energy and everything for the summer, and they're really here to build strong, confident relationships with the kids and making sure that they have a good time and keeping them safe and that sort of thing. They're good role models, they're healthy, and they really submerge themselves in that camp culture. And then the other side of that, the poor counselor, the staff that either are asked to leave by us, or things like, or we don't ask them back or whatever, are more people that are self-centered. They're more concerned about what they're going to get out of camp compared to what they're going to give camp. I think that's a big piece that is really important. We want to make sure that our staff are here to give to the kids and not necessarily get stuff out of camp. Do they get stuff? Of course. It's a fantastic experience, and they walk away with a lot of different skills and things that you probably wouldn't get in a normal job. On that handout that I mentioned before that I will send to you, if you just shoot us an email with your email address, we'll send out a handout at the end of the webinar too with all the links and things like that. But there is a link on there about some things that staff have asked us to share with you, and it's not actually from Camp Foley, it's just summer camp staff in general, about kind of how what they want you as a parent to know about them and taking care of their kids and that sort of thing. So that'll be on the handout, and then a couple more things about staff on there as well. All right, I think we got a couple more questions here. Let me see. All right, I think we're looking pretty good so far. I think we've answered all of these. All right, so I think we're going to switch now a little bit towards healthcare, and again, a really important topic that I think a lot of parents ask questions about is, how do we take care of our kids? I mentioned that we have an RN that stays on site all of the time. They're here to kind of take care of all the basic needs of kids. Check temperatures and take care of kids that might, be feeling well. They're a big part of their job is handing out daily medications that the kids might be on. They bring with them, and that happens 4 times a day, before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, and then right before bed. So the regular medications are given out 4 times a day. And the kids don't even have to go to the health center for the breakfast, lunch, and dinner ones. The nurse actually comes right to the front of the dining hall, and she doles them all out to the kids. If the kids are on more sensitive medications, we can talk them through how to kind of go to see her after the meal if it's more something that needs to be done or wants to be done in the privacy of her health center too. So we have some flexibility there. And again, if it's time-sensitive medication, like if it needs to be taken at a certain time of the day, we work with our counselors and our nurse on making sure that the kids get that, for instance, like right away in the morning before breakfast, like really early, right when they wake up, or in the middle of the night or something like that. So that's a big part of our job, and then of course all the little scrapes and bruises and that sort of stuff. And then if a camper is to the point where they need to see a physician, our nurse is the one, or our nursing assistants are the ones that kind of bring them into the healthcare facility. So they'll bring them into town to meet up with one of the doctors, or obviously hopefully not but in an emergency into the ER and things like that. So they're kind of on site and are okay with getting woken up in the middle of the night and truly perform a lot of those mom things that I think our camp families are really appreciative of them doing. They will also communicate with you, so if the kids aren't feeling well, they'll be the ones calling you or emailing you or getting in touch with you on what you want to kind of do and what precautions and steps you want to take with those kids. So love them. A lot of them have been here for a long time, and our camp moms also, they have kids that attend camp and that sort of thing too. So it's great. All right, so let's see here. I think we're going to kind of wrap up here with, we have a couple more things, but I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint real quick here. Excuse me. Sorry about that, a little coughing fit. But we're going to go back to the PowerPoint here and hopefully get to the next slide. Of course, there had to be at least one technical difficulty or it wouldn't have been a webinar. I want you to kind of take a look at the face on the screen there. When our kids come home from camp, which is obviously an important moment in their life too, they're excited to see you. They're kind of falling into multiple arenas as far as what their emotions are going through. And again, this is not taken from me. This was a couple of great camp people. I think Dr. Chris Thurber was one of them, and then Michael Thompson is another who's another PhD who has done a lot of work within the camp world as well. And again, links to their sites and stuff will be on that handout. But they kind of talked about how you're going to get back a kid that is kind of in one of three categories. The first one is the picture on the screen there, the emotionally wrecked camp sick kids. These are the kids that had literally the time of their life. They are really upset about having to leave camp. They might get home to you and literally fall into a kind of a sort of almost depression in a sense. They are going to be texting with their friends, Skyping their friends, emailing, calling, starting to scheme their first get-together with their camp friends. And they kind of are all in, really ready to go back to camp the minute they left. We actually had a camper, this was several years ago now, and she came back and worked for us for a few summers as well. But when she was in her second to last summer, her mom actually even called us. She was a first 4-week camper, so she was here for the first month of camp, and her mom called us and said, I just have to check to see if there's any space for her to come back for 4th session, because I don't know that I'm going to be able to handle having her at home the rest of the summer. And so, and of course in the long run, she settled down and didn't end up returning. But I think that she probably would have if her mom had put her back on the bus the next day. So kind of be prepared to that. I think sometimes parents are a little bit taken aback when that happens, when kids are not quite as excited to see them as they were hoping that they were going to be. This is also a great opportunity for you to pull out of them all of the great tidbits about camp that you want them to know. So, or that you want to know about their experience. Just keep, asking questions and finding out and looking at pictures and kind of getting in there so that you can really learn about what their experience was like at camp. Because unless you go to camp, it's something that, a lot of our parents who have never attended camp struggle to really understand the culture and what it means to kids when they come home. So that's one group, probably a fair amount, especially of the older campers that have been coming to Foley for a long time, kind of return in that. But that being said, there are I remember several kids last year that were new to Foley but left kind of in this state. So even if it's their first experience, this can happen. The second group is probably the biggest group of kids, and they're going to be the happily tired kids. They're really excited to see you. They're glad that you are picking them up. They want to see the dog. They want to hang out at home. They want to sleep in their own bed. But they're also overly happy about their experience and have lots of stories, and they're going to continuously tell them to you over and over and over again. And again, this is a group that, pinning them down to a computer. At Foley, this is a good time to bring up the picture situation for us. We do not post pictures every day or, a couple times a week onto our website, and we have some pretty strong reasons why, as a camp, we have decided to do that. There are camps that will post pictures literally every day of what's going on at camp, and our biggest reason is that we want our kids to sort of go home and tell you about camp and be able to explain to you what they've been doing the whole time that they've been at camp, and really have that unique experience that they don't get now. You know, it's tough for kids, you know, who are on Facebook and Twitter and all that, and you know, I like social media as much as the next person, but it is hard when their world is completely broadcast to everybody, and so this is just kind of a way for them to disconnect for a couple weeks and enjoy nature and not have that, you know, cell phone or whatever attached to the hip, and you know, and again, they don't have to feel like they have to, you know, ham it up for the camera just so that mom and dad know that they're okay. So we've made the decision to not post pictures until after the session is over. But after the session is over, we do post a fair amount of pictures onto our website, and you'll be able to go on there and sit with your camper and look through them all and have them explain to you what everything is and how things are going, and, you know, look for themselves and their friends and their favorite counselors and that sort of thing. So we look at it more as a great avenue for you to talk about camp than you as a parent having to sit in at home and try to figure out what's going on. So that's kind of the picture thing. So this is a great time for them, but these happily tired kids are, you know, excited to be home. They're going to be exhausted, but they had a fantastic experience. And then, unfortunately, you know, there will be a couple kids, and, you know, no matter how much we try, there always are going to be a couple kids that just don't have the perfect experience at camp. And I think for these kids, you know, it's definitely the minority, but as parents, we really are hoping, you know, just like we're trying to partner with you to have a good experience, we want you to partner with us in letting us know what happened, and, you know, kind of pulling out of the kids really what those true things are, that, you know, why they didn't enjoy their experience, were they picked on, was there a counselor that was mean to them, whatever. And we definitely want to hear about that. We want to hear about the great experiences as well, but you know, some of those experiences that weren't so great, we for sure want to hear about those as well. And the way that you do that is there's a online feedback form that we will send you the link to when your camper arrives home, or simply pick up the phone or email us, whatever you feel more comfortable doing it in that sense. So generally, the people that we hear from the most are the people that have a fantastic experience, or a kid that maybe does not have a great experience. And for all of you out there that have those kids that are in the middle, we want to hear from you too, because we're constantly trying to change and make camp better, and find ways to, you know, make it accessible and fantastic for every kid that comes through camp. So those are the kids that are going to return to. You know, most of our families will tell you that their kids kind of come back from camp looking a little bit older and acting a little bit more mature, and have just a little bit of an air of confidence about them. And you know, I think that's one of the great things about being away from people that you love for those couple weeks, is you can actually see those tangible differences in them as well. So that's kind of the going home experience. See if we have any more questions. If you have questions, this is the time right now. I'm wrapping up here, so get them in right now before we end. Double check here. Excellent. So your kid had a great experience. We have the 3 R's of returning from camp. And I guess returning would be the 4th R. So 3 R's of returning from camp. We have relive, so going back, looking at pictures, asking them questions, have them sing those silly camp songs for you, and kind of talk about food and activities and counselors and friends and funny programs and all of that fun stuff. So that's the reliving part of the R's. The second one is register. You can always register again for next summer. We do open registration up for the following year right away, and there are early bird discounts and all that fun stuff. So that's a great way to kind of just get it locked in and know your schedule for the next summer. And then our third one is refer. And, you know, I think most of you probably sitting here heard about camp from another family or a friend, or some sort of referral, and that definitely is our biggest way of spreading the word about camp. And you know, there's no better way to help us out, and, you know, and again, you be helped out than get those referrals. So you know, when we get off the webinar, if you would like to talk to another camp parent that has sent their kids to camp before, definitely let us know, email us, and we can set you up with another parent that might have, you know, different answers for you, or, you know, more specific to your situation or whatever that case may be. So definitely let us know. And but that referral is huge for us as far as just passing on the word of not just Foley, but summer camps in general. I think we got a question here that says, what do we want to know about your camper's first experience at Foley? Are you talking as far as Foley goes, if that's what the question is, what we want to know about your first experience at Foley? We want to know, were you well taken care of? Were things easy as far as like parents go with registration? Were the counselors up to your liking? What activities did you like? What foods did the kids like? What didn't they like on the other side of it? What were some things that they would change? At the end of every session, we have a thing that we do with our campers that kind of says, if we had this much money to spend at camp, what would you want to spend it on? And the stuff that the kids come back with is very insightful. A few years ago, they really wanted, new sidewalks around camp, and so we put in some new sidewalks for them. They've wanted, new mattresses. We've replaced some of, the mattresses in the cabins. They've, some things like that that, I think are solid ideas. And then, of course, we get the, they want the chairlift to riflery installed so that they don't have to walk there and things like that, which are kind of fun to read. So I hope I answered that question. I wasn't exactly positive on the wording of that one, but hopefully I got that. Otherwise, write it back in there for me. Any other questions at all? This is be the time here. All right. Well, I think that's going to conclude the webinar here. Again, if you want to have that handout sent to you, even if you're watching the recorded version of this, days, months, years down the line, if you want that handout sent with tons of links, resources, books to read, there are questions to ask, there are more hints about how to make your kid have a great experience, things to do before camp, things to do after camp, during camp, just tons and tons of stuff. So if you do have those questions, for sure, or if you want to get that handout, email us at fun@campfoley.com, or give us a call and we will get that off to you tomorrow or the next day. And it looks like we have one more question coming in. I apologize for the delay here, guys. While we're waiting for that question to come in, I'm going to put our contact information up here again, just so you guys all have that. But down at the bottom there is our email address again. Oh, great question. Okay, so the question that just came in is about security at camp and kind of how the patrolling of that goes. And a couple things. First of all, the area that we are located in is very rural. We're not really near any big cities, or we're not near any big cities or anything like that. The closest, even small town to us, is about 15 miles away. That would be Cross Lake, Minnesota. You want to look that up on the map, and then we're kind of equal distance between Cross Lake and Pine River, Minnesota, so kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So as far as city sort of issues go, that's generally not an issue for us. We definitely do patrol camp in the sense that we have the directors, myself, Marie, and then we have several, my brother Peter would be one of them, and several other assistant directors that are kind of with us throughout the summer months, that are all, graduate level or above, so done with college, or, so one of them is a teacher, two of them are teachers, things like that. We kind of take turns staying up late at night and watching out for camp and that sort of thing. And again, the counselors are also staying right in the cabins with the kids, so they're near all of the doors of the cabins is where the counselors kind of live, and so we're kind of watching them as well, or the staff are kind of watching the campers as well. But we don't necessarily have an on-site security guard or anything like that. We do have a great relationship with the Crow Wing County Sheriff, which is the local police department that is kind of in charge of us. And they actually, throughout the months where we have kids, do drive-bys of down our road. Pretty much almost every day we see them go down our road a couple times a day, and they'll kind of drive by and then sort of check in with us and drive out and that sort of thing. So we definitely have that presence in our neighbors, and people like that all kind of know that that's happening as well. And then speaking of the neighbors, I think that's can't go without saying, because we've, like I said, been a camp since 1924 and have been in our location a lot longer than most of our neighbors actually have owned their cabins and things like that. So they know us, and we also know that we have a great support system for security things and that kind of stuff around camp as well. So hopefully I answered your question there. But again, the rural setting is huge. We don't really have our neighbors are small family-owned houses and things like that. We don't have any like large resorts or anything like that that are too close to camp. They're kind of away on the other far side of the lake and away from us. So I think that was it. Any other questions at all then? Put the contact information back up for you one more time here. All right, again, so email us if you want that handout sent, and if you have any other comments or things you want us to answer. And likewise, we love talking to people individually, and this is great, but we would always prefer to talk to you one-on-one. So if you have any other questions or just want to call us up tomorrow and tell me how ridiculous I look on the webinar, that would be great. And the email address is down there at the bottom of the screen, fun@campfoley.com. And again, the website is campfoley.com if you want to go back to look up anything there. So give us a holler, and thanks so much for watching, and we hope that you all have a fantastic summer, and we look forward to hanging out with your kids.